Good
Yeah.
morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Anthony. This episode's for you, buddy. So if you got
Yeah.
questions, throw them in the comments. Um, this is inspired by you, man. So here you go. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much sums up that freelance and if you like you just said, if you are brand new to development, we recommend that you start for free or very very low cost so that you can build some portfolio projects like build
With
up.
people like, yeah.
Yeah, like help somebody that you know, help somebody in need, do a project, like do a website for a local animal shelter who can't afford a nice website or something like that.
Or your
Uh,
church or whatever, or like,
yeah,
or one of your family members
churches
says, I really
churches can
wish
afford a website, all
they
right.
can actually. Yeah, they totally can. You know, Kick it out
But
of 10%.
yeah, but I mean that's a great way to do it. So the next part is sort of, when you build an app, and I think this is
The harder part.
the harder part, and there's more pieces to this. So like when you build, let's say you just built a new web app that does some function. How do you market that? How do you get your first clients?
And how do you price it?
And how do
It's
you
also the
price
hard
that?
part.
Yeah. And I think, you
We
know,
start with pricing first and then work up
sure.
to, yeah, I think that's a good idea because we can talk about that a bit easier, I think. I can
Yeah.
explain, why don't we just talk about how we do it, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Go for
um,
it, Danny.
I mean, for myself, at least, it depends on like, am I working alone or with others? That's
Hmm.
an important point because that can change. Because if I'm working by myself and it's a passion project, I know that I'm the only one that's putting in time initially. So
Yeah.
there's no concern there. Like, I mean, it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
And then it's really for me, it's looking at total cost per user
Hmm.
and then figuring out the pricing based on that. So like if I'm going to do like a monthly pricing, how much per user can I estimate given all the, back end fees? So like hosting services, function costs, how much are they going to cost per X number?
Yeah.
API calls, how much are they going to cost between X number? If I use Stripe or something for payments, what is their deduction? Figure all that out, figure a rough estimate per user, and then base my price off of that. So that I
Yeah.
know that I'm covered, so that if one user does say like a bunch of API calls and somebody else doesn't use a lot, you're still okay. You know that you're in the clear in terms of money that you're making, and then kind of figure it out based on that and go from there. Then you can always
Yeah.
increase as you add features too
Go ahead, Randall.
later
I
on.
saw you raising
Yeah.
your
So
finger.
another thing that's helpful to do is use the tried and true model of the drug dealer, where you give them a little bit for
Yeah,
free up front,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get them hooked, and then
Yeah.
you start charging them. So you'll see that all over the
well, the
place. They
free
call it the
tier is
Yeah.
freemium
great.
model.
Yeah,
Yeah,
having that. Yeah,
freemium
Freemium.
model.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But basically, you let the person try it out. So maybe they try it out one time. Maybe they have limited abilities to use the app, whatever it is, just so they can get their teeth wet or sink their teeth into it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, once they're hooked, that's when you charge them the big
Yeah.
dollars.
That's
Mhm.
right. That's right. I think that's a really good point. And you have to sort of think about strategies of how you can get somebody hooked in a sense and like what is valuable and then what can you take away or what can you not give them access to. That's sort of the logical next step. So like, there's different ideas for this. Like, do you do this by feature? So maybe like in the free tier, they only get certain features, or maybe the free tier is for a certain period of time, right?
And
Like,
then maybe you have like a plus and premium or
yeah.
something. So
So
you
like
have
you look at things like even just Cursor, for example, they have a free tier that's you get, I think, a week or two for free. And it's long enough that you can get something good out of it where you're like, oh, this tool actually works. Like you can learn the tool, learn how to be good with it. And then by the time they block you where they're like, hey, you need to start paying, you're like, oh shit, I can't live without this now.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Or
that,
like ChatGPT as well, where it has the
yeah.
free tier where you can
yeah,
use some of the older models with limited
yeah,
usability. And then once it has enough of your data and you're really starting to enjoy it, it'll cut you off. And then you'll be like, I need it. I need my fix.
But
yeah,
that's I
exactly.
think nowadays too, it's important to remember like there's so many apps coming out all the time that like
Yeah,
offering a free tier is important though because it gives people a chance to actually try it too and
yeah,
see that it works and see that it's like something that they do need.
And and another business model concept is the software as a service. So
mhm,
basically, you're buying something subscription based that's never going to be complete and that is difficult to cancel because
yeah,
because you could sell
Yeah.
it for $100 up front, but you could sell it $20 a month, and somebody will just buy it, and then 2 months later they forget about it, and they'll never cancel it, and then you get
Yeah.
$250 per customer instead of $100 per customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to mention two things. One is with Danny, like when you were talking about doing the math on a customer, you do sort of have to factor in a lot of these different things, but you can also use rate limiting to prevent customers from
Yeah.
abusing like
Absolutely.
early on. It's something to think about too, and not just early on, like the whole time. So rate limiting just means
Oh no, rate limiting is crucial. Yeah, like do you
yeah,
have a
like
set number?
only accepting a certain number of API calls per minute, or even like doing per month, right? You can track how many API calls they make. So on a
Well,
free
think about it. You
tier,
don't
they
want
could
somebody going in just going tick, 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 tick,
exactly,
like
right.
constantly. Yeah.
But a lot of like, if you're building a sort of like AI wrapper app, it's going to be super cheap. Like a typical text-based AI call is going to be fractions of a penny, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And you can
and
also, I would also, this is another good,
yeah,
sorry, on a side note,
no, go ahead.
is like look at the documentation because all
Yeah,
the docs will give you a clear breakdown of API charging and stuff. Like if you look at ChatGPT, you can look at every model, you can look at its price per million tokens, and a million tokens is a lot. Like you're doing text-based, like, you can even figure out how many calls you're going to get within that block, but like, look at that and look at the pricing because that'll give you a good idea, and you'll see that it's like you're talking about yeah, like a tenth of a penny sometimes, like
yeah,
less. It's crazy.
yeah, super cheap. The other thing I was going to mention with what you were saying, Randall, about the SaaS, subscription model, I've heard from some developers like back and forth about whether they should do a monthly subscription or do like charge by sort of like I've used a credit
Use
based
like what you
system or
use.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally like credit based systems. One, because it dissociates money with the usage of the app. It's sort of like a casino. When you go to a casino, they give you chips instead of like using dollars. So
And you get the money ahead of time because then they're going to use the
yeah,
tokens. Yeah.
exactly. And you can charge them for more than they would actually use and incentivize them to buy more. Like if you've ever heard of like movie theater pricing, basically you go to the movies and a small soda is like $3, a medium is like $5.50, and then a large is $6. And like you might as well just get the large because it's only 50 cents
Yeah.
more. You can do that with your pricing too, where you're like, one credit is like I typically do this where one credit is some like ridiculously high amount, like $2 to $5. Like 20 credits is like $1 a piece, and then like 60 credits is like 70 cents a piece or something like that.
Yeah,
So
you go really low, higher you
yeah,
go because the idea is you're getting that up front and it really doesn't cost that much anyway. That's the
yeah,
funny part. Like I think, and you have to remember too, your team size I think is important because how many people are you paying out of this? Because that
yeah,
can be a big factor and you can always
yes,
change this later. But onto the just speaking too of like when you're launching, like having a beta and alpha phase too can be helpful. Like if you're
yes,
testing the app and all, you can do a reduced price to try and get people to check it out, to try it even if it costs you or like you're breaking even, that can be fine if you're just getting like input back and trying to develop it to figure out like where you want to go with this marketing and stuff.
yeah. So Anthony's saying in the comments like the tokens thing, right? He's saying I've seen a lot of tools use convert to
Yeah.
credit or token system to keep churn down, and I've heard that too. Because I think people have somewhat become wise to like the monthly thing. They like consider that monthly thing better. I think it's honestly like a trade-off because a lot of people who will sign up for a monthly thing, you may get less people to sign up initially, but there's always going to be people who just let it ride and like don't
Yeah.
cancel it because it's just a pain. It's sort of like the gym membership idea is like, you
I
know,
just canceled my LinkedIn Learning thing after like 3 years, even though I haven't used it in the past year, because the
yeah,
last time or two I went to cancel it, it was like really, really a pain to cancel.
yes,
Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't let
exactly.
me cancel it from the app. I had to go to the website, and then it
Yeah,
didn't work from the website. The page wouldn't load. And I
yeah.
contacted customer service, and it took like 10
They're like,
minutes for
yeah,
anyone to
sorry.
respond, and I just gave up. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
crazy.
And
I think there's a
Anthony
trade
asked
off
like
there. I
he
think
asked about sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say also like a little sneaky thing you can do too is like if you use a credit based system and you use like let's say it costs like 3 credits to uh, do like to run your service, you can sell credits in increments of 5 so that people have like 2 credits left over, so they have to buy like more to do you know, the next thing.
And
That's
I
all.
think it just, yeah, it's finding
Yeah.
that what works for you, where you're going to get the users that you want and get traffic, but also make money. I mean, that's the idea, right? That's the goal. And you did build something. He asked a question. I don't know about this. I don't know if you guys do.
Before you
How
get
do you
into that,
guys,
I'm just glad we covered a whole bunch of ethical business practices in
Yes.
yeah,
this live stream.
Hey,
right?
listen, we live in a capitalist society, all right?
Whether you like it or not,
Ethics
Yeah.
it's
is
pay
out
to
the
play.
window.
Yeah.
Everything is. No, he said, how do you guys feel about placing your app on Product Hunt? I don't know what
Yeah.
that is.
I've heard of Product Hunt before. It's just a way to sort of like put your app out there. I think Product Hunt is a good place to put your app after you've beta tested it and had some people use it, because it's one of those things where like I think you can probably get some good traction if people enjoy it, but if it's not polished, then you're probably not going to get a lot out of it.
On that point too, if you're new and you're building apps, like you're building passion projects, for the first time you're getting stuff out there, it is important to beta test too, because in case you make a mistake
Yes.
or you realize you don't, it's hard to, it's hard to figure out what users are going to do, because you never know. Like,
Yeah.
are they just going to hit this button constantly and cause a problem?
Yes.
Like,
So how do you do
did you
that?
like,
Because we have like the blindness where we look at it all the time and we try out the same type of things on
yeah,
it and we don't see the errors. So how do you actually beta test it in an
Mhm.
effective way?
it's getting people that aren't you to use it,
Yeah.
basically. But also, like, as a developer, you can obviously, I think, you use it as an individual, go through the full cycle, user cycle, mess around with stuff, hit things, look at it carefully. Like just a good idea, just real quick, is like, if you have an API call, are you disabling the button and showing processing so that
Yeah.
people can't click it more than once? And
Yeah.
then cause that API to call more than once. Stuff like that is stupid seeming, but it also matters when it comes to pricing and functionality.
Yeah, definitely important. One other thing I would add there is a tool called Sentry, which is really good for. Uh, it's sort of like a tool that hooks into your web app and can report errors. But it is a paid tool, but I think they have like a free version as well. But you can actually see what a user sees when an error happens. So you can see like what action they took on your app and see like, and it actually blocks out like private information as well. So you can see like, hey, if a user hit some sort of error that broke your app or something like that, it'll show you like a live replay of what they were doing, which is kind
That's
of
cool.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one to use as well. But I agree with you. I mean, the best way to test an app is to have other people do it, because they're going to expose edge cases where it's like, things that you didn't expect a user to do. The other thing that you're going to get to is it's sort of like, if you guys remember writing essays in school when you would forget a word and you just read it perfectly every time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Your
Was
brain.
that before ChatGPT?
Yes.
Your
Yes.
brain
Long
fills it in.
before.
Your brain makes it appear what you think you
Yeah.
expect it, or you're
And
expecting.
so the same thing with app development. We have this expectation of how the app's supposed to work. So we'll just open up the app and do what we naturally know is supposed to be how we use it.